Have you ever wondered how an Amish farmer, no tractor, no electricity, no government subsidy, no bank loan for equipment, makes more usable money from 100 acres than a conventional farmer makes from 300, and has been doing so quietly for 300 years? Equipment, $24,000 versus $500,000. The single largest financial burden on a conventional American farm is equipment. A modern row crop operation requires tractors, planters, combines, grain carts, tillage equipment, and sprayers. A machinery inventory that commonly exceeds $500,000 and in large operations runs into the millions. That equipment is financed. It depreciates. It requires fuel, maintenance, parts, and eventually replacement. The debt service on that equipment follows the farmer through every crop year regardless of what the market does. An Ohio State University study of Amish farms found the mean purchase price for all crop production equipment on a typical Amish operation to be approximately $24,000. The total annual cost of maintaining that equipment was just over $2,000. The power source for field work is a draft horse, purchased for approximately $1,100, maintained at $2.30 per day, and capable of producing offspring that can be sold. The equipment gap between the two farming systems is not a minor efficiency difference. It is the primary reason one system generates debt and the other does not. Fuel. A conventional grain farm running diesel equipment across several hundred acres spends tens of thousands of dollars on fuel every year. Diesel prices fluctuate with global markets the farmer cannot control, and the fuel bill arrives regardless of what the crop brings at harvest. It is a fixed operating cost with no ceiling and no relationship to farm income. The Amish farm's field operations run on horses. The fuel cost for plowing, planting, cultivating, and harvesting with a draft horse team is zero in the conventional sense. Horses eat grain and hay, much of which the farm produces itself. The horse does not require diesel. It does not require a fuel card or a fuel contract or a relationship with a petroleum supplier. It requires feed, water, farrier visits, and the knowledge to manage it, all of which are either produced on the farm or available within the community at costs that do not fluctuate with international commodity prices. Some Amish farms use small gasoline engines mounted on forecarts to power specific implements, balers, corn harvesters. But these engines are small, fuel efficient, and represent a fraction of the fuel cost of a full conventional equipment lineup. Mortgage. The conventional approach to farm ownership involves a bank, a mortgage, and a payment schedule that begins the moment the land is purchased and continues for decades. A farm purchased at current land prices in Ohio, Pennsylvania, or Indiana carries a mortgage payment that can easily run several $1,000s per month, a fixed obligation that must be met regardless of crop prices, weather, or market conditions. Many conventional farmers carry not just a land mortgage, but equipment loans, operating lines of credit, and input financing simultaneously. The debt structure of a conventional farm is layered and continuous. The Amish approach to land purchase is different in principle and in practice. Land is bought slowly, often with family assistance, sometimes with community support, and paid off across years or decades without the pressure of a conventional amortization schedule. One documented Amish case involved a couple in their 30s who purchased a 66-acre farm for $110,000 and paid it off entirely within 5 years using farm profits, while the farm was still operating and generating income. There is no general Amish prohibition on borrowing, but the cultural expectation is that debt is paid off as rapidly as possible, and that a farm carrying long-term debt is a farm in a weakened position. The monthly mortgage payment that consumes a significant portion of a conventional farmer's gross income is absent from the Amish farm's expense ledger entirely once the land is clear. Labor. Labor is one of the largest operating expenses on any farm that relies on hired workers. A market garden operation employing 3 seasonal staff at $18 per hour for 40 hours per week across 9 months spends over $86,000 on labor alone, a figure that represents the largest single cost category before seeds, inputs, or infrastructure are considered. The conventional farmer who cannot rely on family labor must either hire workers at market rates or limit operations to what a single person can manage with mechanized equipment. The Amish farm resolves the labor question through family structure. An Amish household with multiple children of working age has a labor force that grows with the farm's needs, works without wages in the conventional sense, and is motivated by a direct stake in the household's financial outcome. Children begin contributing real labor to the farm operation from age 4 or 5, gathering eggs, feeding animals, tending garden rows, and by their early teens are capable of managing significant farm responsibilities independently. This labor is not free in an absolute sense. The family must be fed, clothed, and housed, but the marginal cost of an additional family worker is dramatically lower than the cost of hiring an equivalent hour of labor at market rates. The labor structure of the Amish farm is one of its most significant cost advantages, and it is inseparable from the community values that produce large families in the first place. Government dependency government payments represent a significant portion of income for many conventional American farms. In recent years, government subsidies, direct payments, conservation programs, crop insurance subsidies, and commodity support payments have accounted for a meaningful share of net farm income across the sector. Some analysis suggests that without government support, a substantial portion of American grain farming operations would not be financially viable at current commodity prices and input costs. The Amish do not participate in government farm subsidy programs. This is not primarily a financial calculation. It is a theological position. The Amish believe that accepting government benefits creates a dependency on outside systems that contradicts their commitment to self-sufficiency and separation from the world. They resist receiving money from the government for any reason. This means the Amish farm must generate its actual costs and returns from the market without a subsidy floor beneath it. The farm that survives without subsidies is a farm that is genuinely profitable at the prices the market offers. It is not being kept alive by a policy decision made in Washington. The Amish farm's profitability is real in a way that subsidy-dependent conventional farming is not, because it reflects what the land and the labor actually produce when sold at market prices, without transfer payments filling the gap between costs and revenues. Income streams. A conventional grain farm in the American Midwest is typically built around 1 or 2 commodity crops, corn and soybeans being the most common combination. The farm's financial health rises and falls with the price of those 2 commodities on the Chicago Board of Trade. When corn is strong, the farm does well. When corn drops and input costs remain elevated, the farm loses money. The single commodity structure creates a vulnerability that no amount of operational efficiency can fully offset. The farmer is a price taker in a global market they cannot influence. A typical Amish farm of 100 acres runs multiple income streams simultaneously. The dairy herd generates regular milk income through a contract with a local cheese factory or cooperative. The 5-year crop rotation produces grain and hay, much of which stays on the farm to feed the animals rather than being sold as a raw commodity. The feeder calf operation, buying young dairy calves cheaply and raising them to 450 pounds before selling, adds another revenue layer. The roadside stand or farmer's market presence converts garden surplus into retail-priced income. The sideline workshop, harness making, furniture, machinery manufacturing, sausage making adds non-farm revenue from the same property. Each stream is modest individually. Together, they produce a farm income that is insulated from any single market's volatility in a way that a 2-crop conventional operation is not. Value addition. One of the most consistently documented observations about Amish farming profitability is that Amish farmers rarely sell grain directly off the farm. This single practice is one of the key reasons their per-acre profitability exceeds that of neighboring conventional operations that grow the same crops on comparable land. The logic is straightforward. Corn sold as a commodity at the elevator earns the market price on the day it is sold, a price the farmer does not set and cannot predict with certainty at planting time. Corn fed to a dairy cow, a beef animal, or a feeder pig earns a different return. The cow converts the corn into milk, which is sold under a contract at a negotiated price. The pig converts the corn into meat, which is processed on the farm into hams, sausage, scrapple, and lard, products that retail at prices many times higher than the grain that produced them. The animal is a value addition machine that takes a commodity input and produces a differentiated, higher margin output. The Amish discovered this principle not through agricultural economics courses, but through generations of practical experience on small farms where selling grain directly was never as profitable as running it through an animal first. The farm that retains its grain and converts it into milk, meat, or processed food products captures more of the value chain than the farm that delivers its harvest to an elevator and accepts whatever the market offers that morning. Business diversification. Many Amish farms operate one or more sideline businesses from the same property. Enterprises that share the farm's land, infrastructure, and family labor, but generate income completely independent of crop prices or weather. These businesses have multiplied significantly in recent decades as Amish communities have grown and farmland has become more expensive and harder to acquire. The range of Amish sideline businesses documented across communities includes harness making, horseshoeing equipment manufacturing, furniture production, sausage making, machinery manufacturing specifically for horse-drawn farming, buggy construction, bulk food retail, greenhouse operations, and bakeries. Some of these businesses serve the Amish community itself. The demand for horse-drawn farming equipment, harnesses, and buggies is generated entirely by the community's own practices. Others serve the English market. Amish furniture, quilts, and baked goods are purchased by non-Amish customers through roadside stands, farmers markets, and increasingly through wholesale relationships with retailers. The Amish business survival rate is documented at approximately 95%, compared to roughly 50% for non-Amish small businesses over the same period. The reasons are consistent with everything else in the Amish financial model: low overhead, no borrowed capital where possible, family labor, and a community network that provides support, customers, and practical assistance that a conventional small business owner must purchase from outside sources. The sideline business does not replace the farm. It insulates it. The discretionary income gap. The most compelling argument for the Amish farming model is not gross revenue. It is discretionary income, which is the money that remains after all debt payments and necessary living expenses are satisfied. This is the money available for savings, investment, experimentation, and financial resilience. A documented analysis comparing an Amish farm with $50,000 in gross sales to a conventional farm with $300,000 in gross sales found that the Amish farm had $23,000 in discretionary income after all obligations were met. The conventional farm had zero. The conventional farm's $300,000 in gross revenue was consumed entirely by equipment debt service, fuel, hired labor, mortgage payments, government-influenced input costs, and the living expenses associated with a modern lifestyle: utilities, transportation, insurance, and consumer goods. Nothing remained. The Amish farm's $50,000 in gross revenue, running through a cost structure with no equipment debt, minimal fuel costs, family labor, a largely paid-off mortgage, and a household with dramatically lower living expenses, produced $23,000 of genuinely free money. That gap, 0 versus 23,000, is the financial reality behind the title of this video. The Amish farmer does not earn $200,000 in gross revenue in most cases. What they earn is a farm income that actually survives contact with their expense structure and leaves something at the end of the year. In the current American farming landscape, where the median farm household loses money on the farm itself and depends entirely on off-farm wages to survive, that outcome is not ordinary. It is exceptional. Conventional farmer versus Amish farmer. The comparison between Amish and conventional farming is not a comparison of gross revenues. It is a comparison of financial structures, what each system costs to operate, how exposed each